Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Miller Sports Podcast. I am your host, Franklin Miller, joined by my good friend.
It's 1 o'clock.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry, that's my laptop. But as I was saying, this is Miller Sports Podcast, joined by my good friend, Christian Salgado, all the way from the Bay Area, as his name's Sal NBA. Sal, how you doing, man? It's been a couple weeks since we did this last time, but how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I can't complain. Thankful to be on here again. Man, some great playoff basketball has happened since we
Yes,
talked.
sir. Yes, sir, man. Yeah, I just wanted to get your take on the Suns really quick. I know, um, as a guy who writes for the Suns, they're up 3-1. I'm not gonna front. I've been kind of saying over the past couple weeks. I don't know if you've heard me say it, but I feel like if the Clippers were healthy, this would have been a totally different series. And on top of that, I feel like the Clippers might won this series, dare I say, as crazy as that might sound. But overall, I think the Suns, for what it's worth, have played a really good 4 games, especially the last 3 games. Devin Booker has been on fire. It's been amazing. KD's been his efficient self, even while getting doubled and triple teamed. You can't really stop that man from scoring the basketball. But yeah, what are your thoughts so far on the Suns and Clippers series, and even going into Game 5 tonight?
Well, I agree. I think that if Kawhi and PG were healthy, it'd be a completely different series. But you got to give credit to Westbrook. His defensive intensity has been incredible, especially on Kevin Durant. But more on the Sun side of things, I think last game was the best the trio has looked. And by trio, I mean Chris Paul, Booker, and Durant. I think they were the most cohesive they've been. They were running sets where everyone touched the ball. We're getting wide open looks. I really love that pass in late in the third quarter where Booker hit Kevin Durant on the far wing. That was some really impressive teamwork they were doing. I think if they're going to roll like this, then we could go ahead and look ahead to how they're going to match up with the Nuggets, because I don't think the Clippers have it in them. God bless Westbrook and Norm Powell for putting their heart out, but I don't think they're going to make any kind of case against them.
Yeah, I'm like on the same boat. I think last game was definitely the best cohesive that Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant have been so far all postseason. Especially with Chris Paul, since I think because Game 3 he just struggled shooting the ball. I thought Game 2 was also a good game from him, but definitely when it comes to like facilitating and understanding where each other's sets were and kind of playing off the pick and roll screens, stuff like that, and finding everybody from that standpoint, I thought they played terrific basketball, especially in the second half as a team. And it was cool to see KD and D both continue doing their thing together as well. I think this is the first time that a duo like them scored 25 plus points each since Kobe and Shaq through the first like 4 games in a playoff series. So it's been really impressive stuff. And I know they're playing in Game 5 tonight. Do you think that the Clippers have it within them to force it to a Game 6, or do you think it's over tonight in the Valley?
I think it's over. Even if they do steal this game, it's over regardless, in my opinion. They just don't have. Unfortunately, they're just lacking the talent now. And I mean, I said that the Suns were kind of lacking wing depth, but Torrey Craig and Josh Okogie have really stepped up, and they've had some efficient games offensively and defensively. I just don't see any kind of game plan the Clippers have that it's going to overcome, because I think the Suns are running on full engines going.
Yeah, I wrote on my game preview that I had the Suns actually in a blowout tonight. I have them winning by like 21. As crazy as that sounds, because the Clippers have been amazing these last 2 games without Kawhi and Paul George at home. I just think with those tough road games for the Suns, with how the Clippers played those, and for them to still come out and find ways to win, I think the Suns smell blood. I think it's gonna be the actual game where they actually do start off the game really fast, and I think that they're gonna put them away really soon, potentially in the first half. I could be wrong. I'm usually have been wrong a lot of these playoff series. But I definitely have the Suns icing it out tonight. I would be shocked if they don't win tonight, but like you said, I still think that series is probably over if regardless of what happens.
Yeah, I mean, on the Clippers side, they don't know when Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton do the pick and roll, and they have Booker and KD on each side of the wing. It's impossible to guard. On that note, though, I do feel like if the Clippers do make a run against them, it'll be because of the weak defensive rotations. I think the Suns, that's their biggest weakness right now is on defense. They're really not rotating. And I think that Ayton really needs to step up if he's going to want to put pressure on the bigger stars that they're going to face later in the playoffs. He's going to be more of a defender to the rim. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree with that, and that explains a lot of why there's so many wide open threes that Suns be giving away in this series, especially with the rotation sets that they're not getting back home from. And I know that Monty Williams has kind of alluded to that in post games and in practices of where they just kind of get stagnant on defense, and there's not a lot of rotation and rotating, and it's kind of allowed certain runs to go, but also credit to the Clippers side of things, they turned their defense into offense by getting steals and going on fast breaks, because that's where Russell Westbrook excels the most when he's out in transition. So I agree with you. I think their defense really does need to step up, especially when it comes to rotations, because playing a guy like Jokic, he's going to eat you alive on that. Playing a guy like LeBron, he's going to eat you alive on that. Playing a team like the Warriors, who are really good at off-ball movement, are going to really, really tear you apart on that. So, yeah. So I agree 100% with everything.
Do you have any thoughts on Ayton? I know he has been really spotty this series. I think he shot 25% from free throw line last game. I don't think he's getting enough touches. I think that if the Suns want to maximize the offense, they're going to have to mix in touches for everybody. I mean, Ayton is the fourth option, obviously, but he can be a little disengaged sometimes, I've noticed.
Yeah, the thing with Ayton is I do agree it's kind of hard to kind of get a little bit of touches for him. I do know that in the beginning of the games that they do a lot of set plays for him to get him involved early and often in games. Mm-hmm. I do see that KD, they do a lot of those switch and roll plays where KD bounce passes it to him in the paint to get him easy looks. I feel like sometimes, though, for Ayton's standpoint, though, he does bobble the ball quite a bit in the paint to the point where he doesn't get quite the good look or that he turns the ball over. So it's kind of hard to get that going when you're constantly turning the ball over or getting out-muscled in the paint at times. So, yeah, it is tough, but you're right. If they want to maximize their offense, they do have to find a way to get him more involved. But I think a lot of that has to do with Ayton more than the plays that they run for him. But that's just kind of my feeling on that. I just think he has to be better. I think, in my opinion, he did play better in Game 4 yesterday. Mm-hmm. I thought Game 1, Game 3 were his worst games. Game 2 was okay. He definitely kept him in the game with his mid-range shooting. But also, I kind of look at Ayton as he is who he is. We kind of want him and expect him, or we not expect him. We want him to be this dominant force, like a Giannis or a Shaq, when he's really not. He's kind of more of a – I look at him as a center that kind of plays similar to a guard in the paint, which is – or not like a guard, but more like a forward in the paint. And instead of kind of being a little bit more of a force, putting it up in the rack. But I don't know. That's just kind of been my thoughts on how he's looked. But
if he had better hands, he'd be like a perennial lob threat, real interior.
Oh, yeah.
Presence, but I mean, just unfortunately, I feel like he only catches the ball 52% of the time, without fumbling it or something.
Yeah.
I mean, as someone who's watched a lot of James Wiseman, I understand the frustration. I mean, because he does have a great NBA body, especially for a big. If he utilizes his physical tools more, I think the ceiling for the Suns is incredibly high.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. It's a really unfortunate, tough situation. There's games and times where you see it and it's can you please be consistent? But at this point, it's he is who he is. That's kind of how I look at it. And I do feel like the Suns are gonna have to try to find a way to kind of work around that to move forward, unfortunately. But he does get 10 rebounds in the sleep because he's just that tall and that talented. So
Yeah, for sure.
so that's kind of the way I look at it. But yeah, moving forward, it's like now that we talked about the Suns and like their series of what's probably going to turn to be with Clippers, they're probably going to play the Nuggets next round. If they get past the Nuggets, they play either the Warriors/Kings or, in my opinion, the Lakers, because I think the Lakers are going to finish that series against the Grizzlies, either in 5 or 6. But who is the biggest threat to the Suns in the Western Conference, in your opinion?
I still think the Warriors. Maybe a slight bias. I mean, it's honestly a toss-up between them or the Nuggets. I think that the Nuggets, if Michael Porter Jr. is going to play how he played at the last quarter against Minnesota, then they're incredibly dangerous. I think they want it a lot too. Like, they've been touted as like the next up in the West for the last few years now. They've gotten really high seeds. And they've just not really delivered in the playoffs. And I think this year is a year that they've like are fully engaged to try to win. But on the other hand, the Warriors just have that championship experience. And I don't know if I'm kind of nervous about the Kane series. I don't know if who will win. I want to say we will. But as far as the Suns go, I think they'd rather want to see Jokic. They've played them before in a series and they've beat them. So I think that there's going to be a lot of motivation between the Warriors and Suns if they play each other. You got the whole KD storyline, Steph versus Chris Paul storyline. We know Devin Booker and Klay Thompson have got into it in a little bit. I think that is going to be the most entertaining series for sure. And I think it's going to have the most what do you call it? I think pressure on the Suns to really perform.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I would say it's still the Warriors to me as well. And I do think with the Warriors series against the Kings, which we'll talk about a little later, there's some new stuff that's going on with that with the De'Aaron Fox injury that kind of changes things. But we'll talk about that a little later. But yeah, I do think if the Warriors get past the Kings and they get past the Lakers in the next round, I do think that is a tough matchup for Phoenix, especially if they go on the road to Golden State. I know they'll have home court advantage, but I do think the Warriors are capable of stealing a game on the road based off their potential. And I know that's a game DeAndre Ayton should dominate per se based off the height he has. I do think where it gets kind of tough is the ball movement that the Warriors kind of play with, and like we said earlier, with their little with their mishaps in like switching and on rotation wise, and the Warriors are really good at keying in on certain matchups like that. I do think they would attack Ayton on defense in those types of situations to get easy looks. I think it might be a really tough series for Phoenix if they were to play Golden State. Now, that's not to say Phoenix won't win that series, but I definitely think it'll be something that'll go 6 or 7 games for sure.
100%. I don't think there's going to be. I think it's definitely going to be a coach adjustment kind of series. We're going to have to see a lot of what do you call it? A lot of adjustments during the series.
Yeah.
Just because they're going to have to get used to playing with each other. And I mean, like the tempo the Warriors play at, if they make the Suns run, I think that they're going to have to make some lineup adjustments. Like you said, mentioned with Ayton, maybe they want to go small, maybe try some experimental stuff like put Craig at the 5 or Kogi at the 5 and just kind of see if they could space them out. But we'll see.
Yeah, no, 100%. I am kind of curious about the Nuggets series as well, especially when you say Michael Porter Jr. kind of shows his promise. I do like how Bruce Brown and Christian Braun have fared off the bench per se for the Nuggets as well. I do think that the Suns would play a little bit more small because I don't know if DeAndre Jordan would get the minutes. That might change depending on the matchup against Phoenix, but he hasn't really been getting a lot of minutes against Minnesota anyway, even with Karl-Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert in the lineup. So it kind of depends, but I do think we might see a little bit more Jock Landale or not. Who knows? But I do think that it'll be intriguingly and interestingly a really good matchup moment for DeAndre Ayton against Jokic, which he has had good postseason play against him in the past, especially during his first MVP run. But I don't know. It kind of depends. That was a totally different Denver team as opposed to now because they were injured. But it should be interesting. I definitely still think it's the Warriors though for the Suns standpoint of things.
All right.
But yeah, moving forward. Speaking of the Warriors, they play the Kings in Game 5. This tied 2-2. Sac got 2 at home. Golden State then got 2 at home, which we kind of expected was probably going to happen as the season first. Actually, no. I honestly thought the Warriors were going to steal one in Sac, and then the Sac was going to steal another one in Golden State, and it was going to be tied 2-2. But, still ended up being how everybody probably expected it but me. But what are your thoughts on who has the edge in this series now after Golden State just tied it up, like in your estimation?
Well, with this new De'Aaron Fox news, I believe it's his right shooting hand, his wrist, I think.
Yeah, like fractured.
Yeah, so we don't know much about the grade of fracture. Could be a hairline fracture. It could be something a little more detrimental, but I don't know if there's any word if he's going to play tonight, but obviously that's going to be the biggest factor. Because honestly, this series has been it's been frustrating to watch for the Warriors. I think Cole has been so inconsistent, and he just sometimes can't make good decisions. And he has what I like to say is too much foot on the gas. Sometimes he gets really loose with the ball. He's trying to go for a high energy play, and like he just sometimes doesn't need the ball in late game situations. I think the pace of the game has been incredible. I think watching like this kind of shot making at the speed they're playing, it has been unprecedented, at least in the time I've watched basketball. Like this is kind of like the Phoenix Suns 7 seconds or less, like on like steroids. Like it is incredible to watch these guys, Fox and Malik Monk, just running with the ball in their hand and like making tough shot after tough shot. And it's, historically the Warriors like to play at that pace. And I think the Kings play at a faster pace than the Warriors have ever had. And it's just so fascinating to see, honestly. And I think it's, I think there's some real bad juju sometimes with the Warriors, and they have lapses, like I couldn't believe Steph called the timeout without timeout left. Like that rarely ever happens,
Yeah.
And thank God Harrison Barnes missed that 3 because, that
would have been an all-time playoff blunder, man. And he would have been all over national media for that decision.
But this series has been fascinating. Like it's definitely the most non-biased. This has been the most exciting playoff series of the whole playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure, without question. And I can even allude to it as well. I would say now with the De'Aaron Fox news, the Warriors probably have the edge a little bit in this series. But that's not to say that I don't think the Kings can still pull this one out. I do think that they have just enough depth to like make up for a De'Aaron Fox injury, at least at home per se, because that crowd is a big threat to any team in the Western Conference. So I think the Warriors will still have their hands full for sure. But I do think the Warriors kind of been in this position before. They know the moment. They understand the moment. They've been there thousands of times. I think they pull away the next 2 games to kind of end it in 6 per se. Okay. Yeah, I do. I really do, especially with the De'Aaron Fox injury. Before the De'Aaron Fox injury, I believe this was going 7 games. I ain't going front. I thought this was going 7 games, and the Warriors are going to have to win Game 7 to get out of this. But now that their best players out, at least for this game, it's going to be tough for Sacramento. So I got the Warriors in this one. But I do think a big thing, especially with these 2 teams, they're both really similar to each other. But I've never seen a dominant team like the Warriors turn the ball over as crazy as they do and get away with it based off these ridiculous 3-point shot creating that they do. It's really fathomable to see. But another thing too that I feel like Steve Kerr made adjustments on was getting Moses Moody more minutes. I thought he was phenomenal in the last 2 games at home for the Warriors. And Andrew Wiggins starting to come into fruition. If Draymond Green could just stay out of doing Draymond Green stuff in playoff moments, we should be they should be good. They should be good. So
yeah, and we've also have sagged a lot off of Sabonis, making him shoot.
yep,
And he has not had a good series. He plays physical. If you ask a Warriors fan, maybe dirty, but
hey, Kevon Looney doesn't think so, man. He thinks it's what everybody does,
Yeah, I mean, this has been an insanely physical playoffs, at least more than I think than usual. Like some of these screens, 100%. Man, they're going full speed and trying to knock you off your feet, and just trying to get under the board and stuff, man. Throwing elbows everywhere. It's been a real physical, not just the Warriors Kings, not the entire playoffs. It's been extra physical, I feel like.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, man. But yeah, it has been a tough playoff series from a physicality standpoint, especially in the Suns Clippers series. I really love the defensive intensity from both sides in that series. There's times where I feel like the Suns have, kind of been asleep at the wheel on defense.
I want to say I think this is the best defensive effort I've ever seen from Booker. I think Booker is probably playing at his peak I've seen.
Dude, this is the best he's ever been, and I don't even think he's still going to get better. Personally, I think I always said this probably since the beginning of the year, probably for the last couple of years. Booker in his 30s is about to be one of the most beautiful brands of basketball you'll ever watch. I truly believe it. He's going to be the best. He's 31, 32, that sweet spot. Oh my God. Oh my, he's probably gonna average close to 30 on very efficient shooting and playing tremendous defense. I'm telling you.
He's by far the best two guard in the league right now.
100%. I remember there was a conversation where it was between him and Donovan Mitchell, and I was like, I don't know. I still think it was D-Book, but I digest.
Mitchell, that's a whole nother story. We could get to Cavs Knicks later because that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, he's kind of struggling, man. But but I mean, we could even move forward because I know there's a specific performance I wanted to talk about real quick. That happened yesterday. Jimmy G Buckets, and the G stands for gets, had 56 last night, man. 56. I don't know what it is about the playoffs, but this man turns into Michael Jordan 2.0. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But this man is like Michael Jordan. If LeBron James and Michael Jordan had a baby, this is how he turns into the playoffs and Jimmy Butler. But, dude, he had 56 on 19 of 28 shooting, I believe. And he had 21 of them in the fourth quarter.
I think he didn't miss a three, did he? I don't think he missed a three.
No, dude's I think he had 6 threes too. So I'm like, dude, this dude's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah. What are your thoughts on the
besides Dame 2 or 3 years ago? That's the best first round performance. I think it's better than the Dame performance.
I think it's better than Dame too. I think it's one of the best.
As to quote the man, he just be hooping. The thing with Jimmy is never the best 3-point shooter, but if he could hit this consistently with the threes, with already the space he can create and getting to the rim at will, not to mention he is a great he can get fouls really easily. He drives to the basket, he can get to the line.
Yeah.
And
100%.
I was honestly shocked. And the game, the Bucks started off super strong too. I was like, okay, Giannis is back. He's gonna put a pin in this series. He's gonna dominate. Nope, Jimmy G Buckets.
Jimmy G Buckets, man. Bruh. Yeah. Does it surprise you that the Heat are up 3-1 right now, or is it kind of
yes? What are we talking about? They lost a play-in game. They lost a play-in game to the Hawks.
To Atlanta, who's down 3-1 to Boston,
and. I mean, I thought they were too old, but I can't doubt Jimmy, man. Last 3 to 4 years, he's proven he is a 16-game player. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, he's not an 82 player. He's an 82-game player. He is a 16-game player.
There's certain people that are just playoff performers, man. He's one of those guys. They understand the moment and they thrive off of it, man. And that's just who Jimmy Butler is, man. So,
is he going Hall of Fame? You think?
Yes. All he needs is another trip to the finals, and maybe it doesn't even have to be a ring. If it could just be another trip to the finals, I'm cool with it. I've personally been on the record, and saying that he's a top 10 player That's
in the playoffs, yeah, it's hard to argue. Like,
well, not even just in the playoffs, just in general. I really believe he's always been a top 10 player. I was shocked he didn't make the All-Star game this year. But I know points per game is a big thing with everybody, and like
it's just so funny, man. Like he's like a 20-point scorer in the regular season, and then playoffs happens is like he goes Super Saiyan. It's incredible. It's like it doesn't make any sense.
He's charging up, man, till playoff time begins. That's the definition. He's the definition of load management without really sitting. That's who Jimmy Butler is. The definition of load management without even sitting is Jimmy Butler.
It's crazy. He's come a long way from just being like a defensive specialist in Chicago to becoming like,
I know Chicago really freaking wishes they still had him. Oh my god.
Yeah, that was an era, man.
That sucks. Oh yeah, it was. It was fun era. It pains me even more that, man, imagine if Jimmy Butler's still on Philly with Embiid. Oh man, they might be a dynasty. Oh,
this curse continues.
Yep. That's unfortunate. But yeah, could you imagine? I just thought this the earlier today too, kind of going a little off, but this might. I don't know when the last time this happened, but we might have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 seed all move on. So the 1 seed would be Denver. The 2nd seed would be Boston. The 3rd seed would be in
the East.
Oh yeah, 3rd seed would be Philly, who already moved on. The 4th seed would be Phoenix. The 5th seed would be the Knicks. The 6th seed would be Golden State. The 7th seed would be the Lakers, and the 8th seed would be Miami. Has that ever happened before? Like
I have no idea. I didn't even think about that until you just brought it up right now.
It just registered in my mind like earlier this morning. I was like, has that ever happened before? Because that's rare when the 8th seed wins. So it's like that'd be insane.
We might see an 8th seed and a freaking 7th seed win.
A 6th through 8th seed might all get by. That's crazy.
It is crazy.
So, yeah. But, yeah, we might even get like a Heat and Knicks series, which would be insane. Defensively, that'd be freaking unbelievable, and that would have been something I would not have seen. Man. It's almost like a March Madness bracket getting busted really easily for me, man, because I had Milwaukee just going through, and that's not even –
man.
It's tough. I'm shocked that the Heat are doing this to Milwaukee, just to put it bluntly. Even with – because I expected with Giannis back that the Heat were not going to get another game. So this kind of shocks me. But, yeah, I don't know. But, like, with that being said, like, I know there's another thing I wanted to ask you. Like, after Jimmy Butler's great playoff performance, like, is there, like, a specific playoff performance that you watch with your own 2 eyes? It doesn't have to be like no historic one like Michael Jordan at Boston Garden or the MJ flu game or anything like that, or even Isaiah Thomas scoring 25 in the 3rd against the Lakers or anything like that. It's just anything where it was like to where it was like a great playoff performance that you've personally seen with your own 2 eyes.
I've got 2. I got Game 6 Bucks Suns in the 2021 finals. Giannis had 50 points, 5 blocks. I don't know.
I've heard a lot of Suns fans.
Ridiculous. No. Sorry, Suns fans. But I mean, that whole, not even just that series, that whole run, he was belittled with the whole free throw thing, taking over 10 seconds to shoot, and just his percentage at the line. And I think it was like 17 for 18 or something ridiculous.
Yeah, like 17 of 19.
Yeah. That was just incredible. Talk about a person putting his team on his back at the highest stage you can possibly do. And then the other is Game 6, Clay against OKC in 2016, I believe.
Oh my God, I forgot about that one.
That one was like, I just remember like watching at my house and being like, I cannot believe this. I thought we were cooked.
Yep, looking at that game back home in the Bay Area, I was like, this whole 73-9 season's a waste. And then Clay was
it still ended up being a waste.
It still ended up being a waste. You're right. It still ended up being a waste.
But Clay was just like unconscious. And it's just like he would touch the ball and it would be gone in a split second and just into the hoop. Like magical, like very ethereal, if you will.
Hey, that's a good one. I completely forgot about that. Shoot, because that's actually a really good one. Dang. I have a couple. So last year's game 4 with Steph going for 43 was unbelievable. Put the team on his back. I honestly think that was the one time, even with having Clay and Draymond and Jordan Poole, nobody played good that game other than Andrew Wiggins. And Steph really carried the load against a really good Boston team in in Boston and at the T Garden.
That was the
And
best game of his career.
best game of his career. That's even including that I am the greatest shooter of all time game against Oklahoma City in 2015.
That is my favorite personal performance ever. But that's
yeah,
there.
Yeah, that was just from a legacy standpoint, just shutting people up too. I just thought like he just shut everybody up with that performance. What they're gonna say now, as he would say, but that one, and then also, I don't know if it's a very popular one, but this is one I just kind of vividly remember. 2018, Game 6, LeBron against the Celtics was unbelievable when he hit back-to-back threes on Jayson Tatum. I was just like, oh my God, he's still the king. It's like, because there's no way I thought Boston was losing that series because they were just so overly matched with talent against that team. But nobody could stop LeBron James. Like, it was just, I mean, I could easily say the whole series as a whole for LeBron was my favorite. But that 2018 run in itself was one of my favorites. But yeah, LeBron Game 6 against Boston and force of Game 7 was unreal. I thought that series, that playoff run for LeBron and the 2011 Dirk run were like my favorite playoff.
That's so crazy. Okay, I was just about to say my other in my top 3. I think this one is I switched between this. Making number 1 is Dirk, Western Conference Game 4 against OKC again. Sorry, OKC fans. Oh my God, he was insane. Like I think he only missed like 2 shots and went like that's still the record. I think he was like 24 for 24 from the free throw line. I mean, oh my God, that's like high level shot making, turnaround in his face, just 7-1 shooter. Like
couldn't stop it. I guarantee you, after that game, KD was like, "I gotta get some of Dirk Nowitzki's stuff in my game," because I know he sometimes uses that now.
Dirk. He says that KD said that he takes a lot of his game from T-Mac and Dirk, which makes sense. He's like he's like a taller T-Mac, so that makes sense.
Yep, but I definitely see a lot of Dirk in his game, which is funny because every time I watch Book now too, he kind of gets a lot of stuff from KD, but then I also see him use some Dirk Nowitzki moves as well. So I'm like, yeah.
I mean, the one-legged fadeaway, man, has become really popular now that people can replicate it,
Yep. Everybody kind of uses Dirk's moves now in today's day.
No, he was revolutionary. Yeah. Dirk's one of my all-time favorite players.
Oh, yeah. He's one of my favorite players, too, that I ever watched. And so, yeah, it's been really canny. But, yeah. So, I mean, we can move forward. I know that, like, typically this playoff run has been kind of different per se as opposed to other playoff runs, like I said earlier. And this could be a situation where every seeded team might move on from the first round, like a 1 through 8 seed, which would be insane. But with that, do you have a favorite after all this craziness that's gone on? Is your favorite kind of changed? Because I personally have Milwaukee, and that's not looking great right now. So do you have a new favorite, or are you still kind of staying the course on your favorite? What do you have?
Look, it's going to be really tough. I don't know. Like, I want to say Milwaukee can come back, but
they could. There's one team that I feel like can come back from a 3-1 deficit against in this playoff series. It's probably Milwaukee, but
I mean, the real thing is Giannis and this back contusion thing. I mean,
yeah.
I don't want to doubt the man. Like I just said, he played with like a hyperextended knee 2 years ago and was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But I will stick to my guns and say Bucks. But if I want to weasel my way out, I'm gonna say the Celtics. Yeah, because they've just been dominant, man. Like they're deep too. Like they just have so much depth. And like honestly, Derek White's been like their third best player. He is
Yep.
like just there, man. Like he hits shots when he needs to, and he just plays really great defense. He's gritty.
A little off topic, but do you think Derek White makes Jaylen Brown expendable? That's like a really, really hot take. And I know a lot of Celtics fans would probably be like, what the heck are you talking about? But I've always kind of been curious about that.
This is not my original take. I heard this from someone this week. I forget who, but Jaylen Brown is like the balancing act for Tatum. I feel like Tatum has more talent, but Jaylen Brown has a better mentality. Or I should say not a better mentality, but knows when to be a better aggressor. You know, and I think if they switched, like it'd be insane. Like, because Tatum still had a good game, but like definitely like he wasn't as aggressive as maybe he should be. Jaylen Brown steps up, attacks the rim, makes hard shots. I don't think he is expendable for the Celtics, but then again, like I kind of think I don't know. There's a lot of rumors and stuff surrounding them. I think
so you would say Jaylen Brown's a little bit more like aggressive as like a volume shooter per se.
Yeah, I feel like Tatum, not even just a volume shooter. I feel like Tatum's afraid to go to the rim sometimes, or he tends to try to be an initiator, even though he is a good playmaker for sure. But that's not he's a great shot maker. That is his number one talent, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to see him get to the rim more. He's strong. It's not like he's he's what, 6'8", 6'9". He's not lean by any means. He's built,
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I've always kind of thought about that because of the Jaylen Brown rumors that's been going on of him potentially not returning or like.
Yeah, I've heard Houston a lot. I don't know if that's just because I follow a lot of Houston people, but
it's probably because of the Ime Udoka situation because they hired him.
Yeah, I mean, Houston fans think it's going to be Jaylen Brown, Harden's going to come back, and they're going to draft Wembanyama. So, I mean, if that did happen, that would be awesome.
I'm a huge Jalen Green fan.
Yeah,
fun throwing out there. I know the defense isn't quite good, but I see some Ja Morant in him. I do see similarities in terms of career arc that reminds me of Book when he's scoring at will on a bad team, but he just doesn't have the right piece around him quite yet. I do think he's a guy you can build around. But there's also the Aspirin Sengun part of it, who a lot of people compare to Jokic.
That again.
So it's like
Alfred Sengun. What did you say?
Yeah. Wait, did I say the name wrong?
I think it's Alperen Sengun. I think that's.
Oh, I said aspirin. I meant Alperen Sengun. My bad. I meant Alperen Sengun. My fault. Sorry. But yeah.
I mean, there's a big debate whether Sengun's the best player or not. I think he is, but I want him to not Sengun. I want Green to. I think his biggest asset, in my opinion, from what I've seen, is his space creation. His off the dribble stuff. If he could get that going and consistent, it's scary because he's so athletic, and I think that's this is like off topic. A personal theory of mine is like the athleticism is starting to go into not just like being a vertical threat, but a space creating threat. Like I think you're going to see a lot of more players. I'm by no means like a biometrics expert or anything. I don't know if this is bad for you or not, but you're going to see a lot more people putting their explosiveness on step backs and side steps. And like, I don't know if that's too much torque for their ankle. This is just my personal opinion.
No, I like that. I like that thought because that's honestly how it's kind of been going. Shoot, I think I saw Ja Morant starting to use that a little bit more in this game now.
And listen, I don't know how feasible that is. I'm no doctor, but I don't know if that's dangerous for your body or not. But I think we're going to start to see like a lot more guards and forwards kind of hone their athleticism more on space creation than actually like contact finishing. That's just my own personal theory, though, because I think shot making is the way that the league's been trending for the last 15 years.
That's a really good assumption, and on top of that, it kind of allows you to kind of play a longer periods of time. Makes their career.
Yes and no. See, that's the flaw in that is, depending on how big of a person you are, you're putting all your torque.
That's true.
A separation, and you're landing on your ankles and your knees.
Yeah, which kind of makes me think too, kind of a little going off topic, is we definitely talk about how the Warriors and Steph specifically changed the game, but I think James Harden changed the game too with that kind of play style. He doesn't really do it as much anymore, which is crazy. But
Steph popularized just volume 3-point shooting in general and making sets to get people open more frequently. Yeah. But I think definitely people saw Harden use step backs and space creation more, and we've seen a huge influx of players doing that more than ever.
Yeah.
Putting more Euros in their game, putting more, anything to create space and kind of bend the rules of what ball handling is,
Yeah.
which isn't a bad thing in my opinion. I think
not a bad thing at all. It's, especially in today's game.
It's exciting because let's be honest. I mean, these players are getting bigger, faster, and stronger, and I think the last few draft classes, the defensive prospects have been getting better and better. So I know a lot of people wish there'd be more rules that are in favor of defense, and I understand. I like defense. I'm a defense guy, but it's exciting to watch. Can't complain.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that, man. That is kind of interesting to point of view because I actually didn't think of it in that lens as well. Yeah, but also, yeah, alluding more to my take as well on who do I think's might coming out the playoffs. To be mine is to be determined. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I really don't know as of right now. I think things change now with Milwaukee out. I really have them as my go-to team. I do think there's still a possibility they could come back and even this series, and you never know in Game 7. But if they weren't to advance, I think I want to say Phoenix so bad. There's just still question marks I have with them, man. I just need to see more. I need to see more. I'm not sure because I will say this. I truly believe in a perfect world, if everybody was healthy, I don't think the series turns out like the way it did for Milwaukee if Giannis was healthy from the get-go.
No, not at all. I think Milwaukee got some bad luck, honestly.
Yeah.
Possible luck you could get.
But also, I think if the Clippers were healthy, they might be my team coming out of the West. I'm just saying. Because I think they're that deep, and I think their two star players in Kawhi and Paul George together with Russell Westbrook would have been something special. Especially with Russell Westbrook. And it didn't even have to be Russell Westbrook shooting the way he's been shooting. And his defense just alone could have been good enough for Kawhi and Paul George, in my opinion, with Norman Powell coming off the bench and a more efficient Eric Gordon coming off the bench. That's just my opinion, though.
Did you want to talk about the other West series? Did you want to talk about Nuggets?
Yeah, we can, man. We can talk about that real quick. I know you're kind of this. I know we were expecting that series to kind of end soon. I do like the fact that Anthony Edwards saying this series ain't over and they got one. So, but what's your thoughts been on that series so far?
I mean, it's kind of gone as much as I expected. Oh, yeah. I just wanted to touch on it real quick. I just think build around Edwards. I think what he's doing at 21 years old is phenomenal. I think he's got like 5 30-point games in the playoffs as a 21. Yep. I think only LeBron has more.
Yep.
Before turning 22, I believe the stat is.
That's speaking of another player that understands the moment. Anthony Edwards, when it comes to he to me is a 16-game player as well, personally.
Another guy that's really athletic that uses it to create separation also.
Yep.
And he
didn't have a good playing game though, but
sorry, say that again.
He didn't have a good playing game though, but
no, he didn't. That whole team is just a mess. They need to figure that out. I mean, ideally,
they
get rid of everybody.
But here's my thing too. I really truly believe if Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels were healthy, man, this should have been a totally different series. I honestly think it'd be tied 2-2 right now.
Tough to say. I could see it being, but I still think even if they were healthy at most, I still think it would be Nuggets in 6.
Actually, I take that back. If it would have been different, because if they were healthy, I think the Lakers would be playing the Nuggets right now, and then they'd be playing Memphis.
Okay.
It goes a little. There's a lot of what ifs in these scenarios. So.
Are you worried about Memphis at all, or you think that? What are your opinions on that series, real quick?
Oh, I'm definitely worried about Memphis.
Okay.
I want to get your take on it because I personally think, for whatever reason, Memphis as a whole plays better when Jaw's not playing. And I've always been kind of curious. I mean, obviously the usage rate of that is an obviously factor, but I don't get it because, I really see that. And they got a great game from Desmond Bane yesterday, and they still lost. That's crazy to me. So it's I look at that from the standpoint of is it a jaw problem, or is it a coaching problem, or is it just what is it type of thing?
I lean more it's coaching thing. I
Mm,
think maybe Jenkins has been there for what 4 or 5 years now, maybe a little less actually,
like
but
3 years. I think 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I X's and O wise, I mean, I really don't know what kind of adjustments you should make with him. But the kid is electric. I mean, I am hesitant.
Oh, he's
Like
a really great player. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm on the team of like I wouldn't overthink it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have played better without him. That's for sure. But I mean, you're telling me John Morant to leave the Grizzlies? Like, no, I don't think that's.
I'm not suggesting they should leave the Grizzlies. I'm suggesting how do you find ways to still get the other role players involved a little more when Jaw's on the court per se. Or,
Yeah,
it could be an overthinking tactic I'm using.
because I think as much as an electric finisher he is, I still think his best asset is as a playmaker.
Oh yeah, no. Oh, that's so true. Yeah, his facilitating is honestly one of his best attributes to his game, more so than just his electric athleticism plays that he makes.
Quick side note, though, he needs to stop trying to jump over everybody because it's getting
Oh
ridiculous.
man. Oh, 100%.
That LeBron play was scary, dude. He could have like kicked him in the eye or like.
Yeah, I was watching the game. I was watching the game with a few friends yesterday, and we were saying the same thing. We were like, bro, he's got to stop doing that. Like it's like, bro, he can. Matt Barnes even said it today. He was like, his career can be over like that, man. The ground's undefeated, and that was like, and he's already playing with an injured wrist. So I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like,
even on defense too. If you notice, like he'll like try to go for the block and he'll like put his whole entire body into them. Like,
yeah,
like it's exciting to watch for sure, but it's getting like really reckless. Like I think like over relying on it, like because he is such an incredible athlete. His midair adjustment is insane. Like it's his hang time is crazy.
It's Michael Jordan-esque, so to speak. If I'm being honest,
for sure. But it's also like, yo, dude, like you are gonna like, God forbid, you might do a front flip in the air and not land on your feet, and like no one wants to see that.
Yeah,
no one wants to see you get injured.
Yeah, it's already been a question mark for the longest time.
To go back to the role player thing, though, maybe he's definitely not a role player, but I think getting Jaren Jackson involved more might help, and I think they can skew it more where it's very jaw reliant on the offense. And sometimes I feel like Jaren gets a little ignored now. Jaren can be inconsistent at times, but I think Jaren Jackson's potential has not been reached yet. I mean, if he starts to figure things out, and I think they could be really, really dangerous. I'd like to see him attack closeouts more too. Like I think he could be. Sorry, what I'm trying to say is I think he can have a lot more rim pressure. Like I think he could drive. Like his handle's not like the best per se, but I think he is quick and big enough to muscle someone and get to the rim more. That's my opinion, though.
No, I agree. And also, I remember Draymond Green saying something earlier in the season where the reason why he feels like the Warriors don't see the Grizzlies as a threat is because Jaren Jackson, one of their best players, has a tendency to get in foul trouble a lot. And that keeps them out the game, and their whole game plan, so to speak, kind of changes of how they attack, especially on defense. So there's that aspect. And so, yeah, but I agree. They got to get Jaren Jackson more involved, especially on offense. I think if Jaren Jackson can take a leap in that regard, I think that can change the full spectrum of the Grizzlies as a whole. Because I think from an efficiency standpoint, he's been their best. I'm going to say this is not John Morant's their best player. I'm just saying from like an efficiency standpoint, I think from a consistency and efficiency standpoint, from being on the floor, I think Jaren Jackson's been the overall more efficient player this season. But
yeah, and I mean he's just a monster on defense. Also,
he's just a monster on defense. He had AD in check yesterday. They still lost. How do you have Jaren Jackson at 80 in check? Desmond Bane top 30, and they still lost. That's crazy to me. That's so crazy to me. But yeah, if someone were to tell me that, I'd be like, "Oh, Grizzlies are winning that game." So
yeah, because Austin Reeves is the savior of the NBA.
Yeah. Yep. So, but I know like to end it because we gotta probably wrap up really soon. I did want to touch on one last thing, and this is like just to get your thoughts per se. Where do you see the Knicks going? And how far do you think they could? Do you have them if they play the Heat? Do you have them getting through them?
So I felt really dumb in hindsight about it. Like I really doubted the Knicks' depth. Like they had McBride out there playing meaningful minutes, and that's like a third string guy. I think on the other side, I think the Cavs just I don't know what's wrong with them, man. They really disappointed. I did not expect this at all.
I didn't see Donovan Mitchell struggling this bad.
Mobley has a lot of pressure on him to be like really great. The people are throwing out KG and Tim Duncan at him all the time. And I'm a big Mobley guy myself, but he needs to play better for sure.
Yeah. Mitchell Robinson's outplayed him this series.
I was gonna say, Mitchell Robinson's been the best big in the series, and Jalen Brunson's been the best guard in the series against freaking Donovan Mitchell and
Darius
Garland.
Yep. I'm a big fan of Darius Garland.
I mean, I think the Knicks are going to win, which is crazy to think about, and I think the Knicks could beat the Heat. So we're seeing the Knicks in the Eastern, like we could see a Celtics-Knicks Eastern Conference Finals here. Ugh. Which would be insane. Good for New York, I guess, but
it's very good for New York.
Big markets, big markets always win, whatever. But
don't you think Boston would sweep? Do you think Boston would sweep them, or do you think New York would give them a run for their money?
Oh, dude, I think the Knicks still at least won, but
yeah. I just don't have that much. I'm gonna be honest. I
don't know. Maybe the Knicks have a Cinderella run. I don't know.
Oh no, I've been on the mindset. I just don't have that much faith, and I guess I never really got the hype per se at times with Julius Randle. I definitely think he's a 25 point per game scorer, and he's a good stretch four.
Yeah, he's a good scoring forward, but he doesn't.
Yeah, I don't see anything else. It's like he can if you put him on a good matchup with a good defender, he's getting shut down easily. That's just me though. But
I think he has a bit of Tobias Harris syndrome.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. That's a good one. A little bit better though, for sure. But
yeah, definitely. But bigger forwards that can score, but kind of just meh.
Just meh. Exactly. So yeah. Yeah. So is there any last minute things you want to say about the playoffs in general, or the Suns even for your boy? Is there anything you want to say?
No, man. Not basketball related. I hope the Cardinals have a good draft.
Arizona Cardinals?
Yeah.
Dang. We'll see. I definitely see them trading down. I think that's the right decision they should do because they really need changes everywhere on that defense, and they can't just get it strictly just off that one pick per se. So I would trade down if I were them if it's a good move, but we'll see.
Yeah, man. Who do you want? Real quick, who do you want them to pick?
If they stay at 3, If they stay at 3, I think Will Anderson would make.
Yeah, I think Will Anderson would be available. Yeah, you guys. I like the kid out of Texas Tech too, Tyree.
Oh, Tyree Wilson. He's speed rusher, bro. He's really good. I like him too. Jalen Carter's a monster, by the way, but a lot of people are kind of concerned with his.
Yeah, I've rushed up on the draft a little bit, but hey, I'm not an NFL expert by any means.
Yeah, me neither. So we're good, man. We're good though. But yeah, shoot, I would love to see the whole 1 through 8 thing kind of come to fruition because that'd be crazy. That'd be cool. That's all I have to say. But yeah, that'll do it for this episode of the Mo Sports Podcast with Christian Salgado. I'm your host, Franklin Miller. Feel free to subscribe on the BirdsEyeSports.com account and even follow Christian Salgado on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle, Sal?
It is Sal NBA is my handle. My at is Sally Dior, SALLYDIOR. And then you could go ahead and subscribe to my Substack if you so kindly at SalNBA, Substack.com.
And he writes a lot of good stuff, man. He's very knowledgeable about the game of basketball. So love talking with him about this type of stuff. So yeah,
we're gonna get a lot more articles up there too. Got a lot of good ideas coming up soon. So I'm excited.
Yes, sir. It's gonna be good, man. But yeah, that'll do it for this episode. Hopefully Suns finish it off tonight. They should be getting Cameron Payne back. So that should be good for their depth. But I'm your host, Franklin Miller. That is Christian Salgado, as we like to call him, Sal. And we'll see you next time.